everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Medieval Reader. So today I would like to talk about manuscripts. And the book that really inspired me to finally make this video was Image on the Edge, The Margins of Medieval Art by Camille. Now this book is actually quite affordable. When this book was purchased, it cost $16, so it might be less expensive today. This book is all about art on the margins, and not just margins of manuscripts, but also on the outside of cathedrals. For example, the gargoyles on the outside of Notre Dame Cathedral. Why are they there? Why would there be monsters on the outside of churches? Why would there be some quite explicit sexual imagery on the margins of books of hours? Why are there bunnies attacking humans in a romance that has nothing to do with animals? And this is what Camille tries to address in this book. There isn't a strict formula. At times, the marginal art actually reflects the text. And at other times, it really has nothing to do with the text. Sometimes, the art is inspired by a word that could be read in a number of different ways. This is particularly true when a religious word can also have a sexual connotation. The main argument in Camille's book is that the margins are where the world is. It's what is pushed out. So if you have a religious text, in the margins, often sinful activities are depicted. That is what's pushed out. Perhaps the text is describing marriage, and so then you see lust being depicted in the margins. Those who did the marginal art for books of hours weren't necessarily monks. This is not to say that monks didn't have an interesting sense of humor, very scatological, very sexual, just lots of beasts that are half animal, half human. There's the gryllus, which is a head on an animal body, just basically a head with two legs. And the gryllus is supposed to represent complete corporality. It's just a body. There's no spirit, there's no soul in the gryllus. So the gryllus came to represent lust. In the 19th century, scholars tried to find a really rational basis for every single type of art in the margins. But now we know that people of all class backgrounds were entertained by the margins, and that the margins was marginal precisely because it was in contrast to the main text. The main text that might have been more serious, especially for dealing with the Bible. I will show you an example that comes from the Romance of the Rose. So this is my French edition of the Roman de la Rose. Quick introduction to this before we move to talking about manuscripts. I will be showing you a digitized version of the Roman de la Rose that's at the Bibliothèque Nationale in France. You will be able to access this yourself. So the Roman de la Rose was written in the 13th century by two authors, Guillaume de Loris and Jean de Main. Guillaume de Loris wrote the first 4,000 lines, and then the rest, so it's like this much would be written by Guillaume de Loris and the rest is written by Jean de Main. Okay? So Jean de Main wrote the vast majority of this romance. It follows a lover protagonist whom I will refer to as Amant, the lover. And he has this dream where he goes on this quest to kiss a rose. Now, it is certainly very sexual, but it's very glossed, meaning that you have to read between the lines. There are a number of allegorical characters who have a life of their own. So it's not really a strict allegory. Yes, they embody the traits that their name suggests, but they also have their own personality. One of the most important of these speech characters is Raison. Raison, or reason, tries to convince Amant to not go after the rose, to prefer what is of God, and to prefer reason over carnal love. But the god of love, who is Cupid, he wins the day, and in the end, our lover protagonist kisses the rose. Now, the rose is protected by a number of speech characters, like danger and shame and fear, and so the lover needs an entire army, this is the army of the god of love, to help him penetrate the fortress where the rose is and be able to kiss the rose. At one point in the story, Reason, who gives the longest speech, tells the story of Saturn, who cut off the testicles of his son Jupiter. And Raison actually uses the term testicles, couilles, to refer to those body parts. And Amant is shocked. In fact, it is the reason why Amant declines following Raison, is that he cannot believe that a woman, that a courtly woman, would say those words. And Raison says, well, I'm just going to tell you the truth. Like, this is, I'm not going to gloss anything. I'm going to just say it as it is. And Amant thinks that that's not courtly, and he rebukes her for saying the word couilles. So keep that in mind, because I will be talking specifically about that section when we go to the manuscript. The Romance of the Rose was one of the most popular romances of the late Middle Ages. If you have never read it, I definitely recommend that you do. The 15th century poet Christine de Pizan was not a fan, because the poem is filled with misogyny, or at least there are a few characters who give really long speeches against women, and Christine was very critical of it and got into conflict with theologians who supported Jean de Main's message in the poem. So this was a text that was debated, that was loved. There were a lot of there was a Christianized version of the Romance of the Rose called Le Pèlerinage that was written afterward to try to clean it up and make it more orthodox. And I'm going to show you what one manuscript did with this text in the margins. So let's go to that. Okay, we are on the Gallica webpage. To access it, you simply type Gallica into Google and this comes up. You can choose your language. I think English is the default language, but if you are living in the United States or in an English-speaking country, French and Italian are also your choices. However, the description of the text will be in French. But as I will show you, you can figure things out fairly easily. So I'm going to put in the information of the text. Now, I know in advance where to find the Roman de la Rose manuscript that I'm looking for. There are actually several of them that are on Gallica, but this is the one that I want to choose because it is the most beautiful. It is quite a luxury manuscript. So as you can tell, if you click on the I, you get the information. Guillaume de Loris and Jean de Main, who lived in the 13th century, are the authors of the text. However, the publication date is sometime in the 14th century, 1301 to 1400, so the entire century. Okay, and the description, as I said, is in French, but miniatures on each page, scenes of hunting, and grotesque. À chaque page just means on every page. And I will show you a few selections that I thought were particularly interesting. So we will start with the one that is the most inappropriate. However, it's very subtly inappropriate. I didn't want to choose a manuscript that was too inappropriate because I'm putting this online and I want to keep things PG-13. So it's you type in XL, so that's 43 recto. Okay, so this is our page. This is the scene where Raison talks about Coiles. Okay? Click on the zoom first. Let's use my fingers. Okay. As you can tell, this is a monkey playing bagpipes. Now, you might think you're reading too much into the text, but you're not. Often if you think you're seeing something, you're actually seeing something. Because here, we've got the lover playing the same bagpipes, and next to him is the girl who represents the rose. Remember, the lover is trying to kiss the rose, who is here depicted as a girl, because really, the rose is a gloss for the girl. So there's that. On the next page, this is what the page looks like. You have a picture of the Annunciation, and then Mary visiting Elizabeth. These are stories found in Luke chapter 2. Now, this can mean a number of things. It could mean really anything in isolation. And sometimes, like I said, these images don't mean a lot. They're not necessarily associated with the text. But here I think it is, because here Raison tells Amand, the lover, that if everyone loved each other, there would be no need for earthly justice. And so it's I think very interesting that there's this juxtaposition of the very sexual on the previous page and then very religious art that really depicts love, the love that Mary has for Elizabeth, the love that God has for Mary. And then on the following page we have the story of Appius. Now this story appears again in the same speech that Raison is giving. This is a very long speech. And the story is about an unjust judge who rules in favor of a servant who's abusive towards a virgin named Virginie. And there's a virgin, and there is, I assume, the servant who is trying to convince the judge to rule in his favor. We go, okay, so who is this king? And then we see that there are these knights who are killing children. This is the slaughter of the innocents. And we see that this must be then King Herod, who was very unjust. Followed by a religious image of the three magi who are bringing gifts to the Virgin and baby Jesus. Right? These are kings as well. The magi are kings, but you see that they are just kings. They are bringing gifts to Jesus. And it goes on. And then there's this interesting scene where Jesus is brought into the temple to be circumcised. So here is a more pious reading of the Coiles section, because he's getting circumcised. So that really goes with the image. So yeah, I wanted to show you finally a few more examples that aren't directly associated with the text. This is 57 verso. Okay, so we have some very cute animals. Some sort of a dog and a deer. 58 verso. We have rabbits visiting a sick rabbit. Rabbits are very popular in marginalia. And then you have these bears who are either dancing with each other or hitting each other. I'm not sure. And finally, I wanted to show you a gryllus. This is in 62R. And these gryllus are religious figures. So you have a cardinal He's wearing the galera, which is the old cardinal's hat. And so you see a bishop who is depicted as a gryllus. And you have more bishops depicted as grylluses. And here. And so this just represents religious hypocrisy. And there is actually a character, actually a few characters in the story who are religious hypocrites. So I wanted to show you these because the margins can sometimes challenge power structures. They can challenge hierarchies. So there you have it. I really do encourage you to look through this manuscript and the thousands and thousands of others that are on Gallica. I also want to show you a few other databases. So there is France Angleterre. You can get this also on the Gallica website. So if you go on the Gallica website, you can see this is what I clicked on. And you can get this. And then I'm a student at the University of Pennsylvania. Penn Libraries has Pen in Hand. Okay. And I wanted to show you a book of hours because that's really, really nice. So MX Codex 1056 is the call number. And, you know, here you can check the illustration. So we'll just check St. Catherine. Well, these are pigs. Where's St. Catherine? That must be St. Catherine. So here we have the Virgin. We have just a lot of really beautiful art. And occasionally you'll get full pages as well, depending on what book you're looking at. And a codex is one book. So one book can have multiple texts in it. So I will show you the one that I have looked more closely at. This is La Destruction de Troyes, which is a 15th century work. But actually, this codex includes Les Lamentations Saint-Bernard, La Destruction de Troyes, and Le Mystère de la Passion de Notre Sauveur Jésus-Christ. So the Destruction de Troyes looks like this. Okay, so you can tell, looks like this. Okay, but if you go to the last text, Le Mystère de la Passion de Jésus-Christ, it's completely in prose. It's not in verse at all. And actually, I'm using my touch screen to expand the image, but you can use the zoom function. And you can go to full. Aha! There you go. And then you could actually read it. Which is what's so amazing about these databases. You don't have to go in person. Have a letter saying that you are allowed to look at manuscripts. You don't have to travel all the way to another country to look at these manuscripts in person. You can do them at home, during your lunch break, at 2 a.m., in your pajamas. You can read these manuscripts and practice. These are hard texts to read. These texts can be very hard, not just because of the script, but also because there are a lot of abbreviations. So, you know, this will just help you to practice doing that. The British Library, there's their digitized manuscripts page. I will put in a keyword, put Beowulf, and you can tell I've already used this before. And it comes up like this. You could choose your folio here. So we'll just choose this. It's just a random page. And it just looks like this, and you can just keep going through it. And then we have the Vatican Library. So if you type in Vatican Library, this comes up. You click on Inventories and Index Digitized. And I'm just going to click on one random one because I don't really know what I'm looking for, but just so you know how it works. Okay, so there it is. And you just click on it. And there you have it. And actually, this is in Greek. It's an inventory. If you want more information, you just click on here. Yeah, there you go. And it gives you the shelf mark where you could find it. So that's the information. And I would like to
also talk about this. This is really, really nice. This is run by a person named Jess Hurlbut, and there's just all kinds of examples of medieval art, and when you click on the picture, it tells you where it comes from. So it links to the document. So this is from the City of God. So there you have it. I hope that was helpful. I will link everything below. I really would like you guys to check this stuff out for yourself. There's some amazing art, amazing texts, works that you just cannot find anywhere else online. It's amazing. There are so many libraries now that are in the process of digitizing their manuscripts, but these are the ones that I would definitely recommend to you.
Thank you everybody for watching. Let me know if there are manuscripts that you have found online, and I will talk to you later. Bye now.